Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for today's virtual conversation event called Reconciliation Work in Bosnia Today, a conversation with the Center for Peacebuilding, featuring Mr. Vahidin Omanović and Mr. Mevludin Rahmanović. My name is Hannah Eliason, and I am the Program Manager for the Cohen Institute for Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Keene State College. Today's program is part of the Spring 2026 series on Bosnia and Herzegovina being offered by the Institute. Speakers in the series represent a wide range of perspectives as scholars and practitioners. As a reminder, the views and opinions expressed by our guests are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect or represent Keene State College, the Cohen Institute, facilitators, and/or other participants. In terms of the format for today's event, our guests will first offer a presentation, and then I will pose some questions from our audience to them. If you would like to submit a question, please use the Q&A feature to do so. We ask that individuals wishing to suggest questions, please frame their inquiries in a concise, respectful, and open-minded manner. We welcome questions that highlight intellectual rigor, curiosity, and common courtesy. We may need to reword questions at times for clarity, and we may not be able to answer every question posted in the chat in our time together today. Today's event is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Cohen Institute's YouTube channel following the event. Other unauthorized video, audio, and other recordings of the event are strictly prohibited. Our discussion today will focus on the ongoing work of reconciliation and peace building in Bosnia and Herzegovina. More than 2 decades after the widespread violence and genocidal actions that took place between 1992 to 1995. We will explore how local communities continue to navigate divisions shaped by ethnic, religious, and political conflict, and what it takes to rebuild trust in the aftermath of mass violence. In addition to examining these challenges, we will discuss strategies for fostering dialogue, promoting understanding, and supporting long-term peace. So today, we are excited to welcome Mr. Vahidin Omanović and Mr. Mevludin Rahmanović, co-founders and co-directors of the Center for Peacebuilding in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Since founding the center, they have worked across deeply divided communities to promote dialogue, nonviolent communication, and reconciliation. Mr. Omanović holds a master's degree in international relations with a concentration in conflict transformation from the School for International Training in Vermont, where he also taught courses on forgiveness and conflict transformation. In 2011, he received the 5th International Brahmin Peace Award from the Threshold Foundation. Mr. Omanović is a certified trainer of trainers in dialogue and nonviolent communication. He previously worked as a teacher and imam in Prešador, where he spent years engaging directly with communities affected by conflict. Our guests are also longtime friends and affiliates of Keene State, having worked with the Cohen Institute in the Department of Holocaust and Genocide Studies in many different capacities over the years, and we are honored to host them for this discussion. Vahidin and Mevludin, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd now like to turn things over to you to offer your initial remarks and presentation.
Thank you, Hannah. So, hi everybody. So my name is Mevludin, if you're confused who's who, and this is, yeah. And we were thinking actually how to start and how to talk about the peace, how to talk about everything that's going on that has been done in a peace building world in Bosnia, and also what we have been doing. But first of all, I think it's very important to understand how you become a peace builder. So you have heard that Vahidin is the trained peace builder. He finished the school. This is his education. This is his job. And this is also my job, but I was not, let's say, officially educated to become a peace builder. So definitely we didn't woke up one morning and said, let's be a peace builders, let's build a peace, let's do things about it. So it's pretty much connected with our experience, with what we have been going through the war. So I want to say in 90s when war has started, I was little boy, 11 years old. And believe it or not, I was one of the happiest boy in that village when war happened, because through my old childhood, I was watching, the war movies about fighting Nazis, how we were partisans. And there was a little boy, if you're familiar with these movies, war Yugoslavian movies about World War II. There was a little boy called Boško Buha, and he was, participating in war, throwing the grenades and, fighting the Nazis and everybody. And this was my dream, to fight, to be part of the war, to have grenades and everything. So when war finally started, yeah, I was really happy, and I couldn't be more happy that this is going on. We were hiding in the basement. The grenade would fell all around the houses, around the basement. And then when it's kind of, ceasefire, I would go out and search for shrapnels and things like that. It was, pretty much nice and good to be boy at that time and to participate in the war. And this was ongoing for a couple of days and weeks and months. And then one day, the enemy soldiers came to our village. They came to our house. They took my father out, who was imam in this village. They beat him up. And after that event, he luckily survived. We returned to the basement that we were hiding. None of our neighbors wanted to be with us. And then, because they were afraid that they might come again and beat him, and then they will be also in danger. So we had to escape our home, and then on our way, escaping to different village, thinking that we will go for just a couple of days, that everything is calmed down. We just realized that our house is burned to the ground. So we entered the village that we know only a few people there, and we end up in a house with the people that we never seen in our life, that we don't know, and we stuck with them. In that house, we spent also several days, while the war was really going on, and the killing and slaughtering and the burning houses. So my father was in danger of losing his life several times. I stopped seeing him. He was hiding in the forest. I was really scared, and it stopped being fun, to be in the war. I will just make it shorter because of the time, and just to come to the point that I end up in the concentration camp with my mom and sister, not knowing did my father survive. After some time, we escaped to so-called free territory. And luckily, after a month and a half, my father came out alive. And then, while the war was ongoing, I also lost several family members. The closest was my grandfather and other family members. So many fathers of my very close friends were killed. And the anger started to really raise up and build in myself. And I was so angry and so disappointed that I was too young to go to war, to do revenge for everything that happened to me. And the war was ongoing for 4 years. The rage was just raising up, and I was thinking what to do, planning what to do. I heard who killed my grandfather, who killed my family. I found out actually when I was entering the concentration camp, there was my teacher from primary school entering and putting down my name and everything. So I was freaking out and being so angry, and I was kind of targeting whom I supposed to do my revenge for everything that happened. Because at some point I was a kid, and few days after, I just stopped being kid. I lost my house, I lost my toys, I lost my childhood, I lost my friends, I lost my family members. It was, the war time, and I just wanted my revenge. I wanted everything that I have lost during the war, I wanted back, and the best way for me was to do my revenge. The war stopped in 96. I returned to Sanski Moš, which is close to my place where I used to live before the war, which is Prijedor. And then in 2001, I returned to Prijedor, started to work. In the meantime, I finished the school to become an imam. I get a small community. I was still having this battle inside of myself. How should I deal with everything that happened to me? Should I revenge? As a human being, I really wanted to do my revenge for my grandfather, for my friends, for my childhood, for all my family members. but also as religious leader and also religious person, I really wanted to do what's the best way to deal with this anger, with this hate that I have. And I can say that one Friday I was doing a Friday speech, and I have a friend who came with his friend to the mosque, and after the prayer, I met two of them. We were talking and discussing, and I realized this is Vahidin with my friend, and I said, like, what are you doing? What is your, occupation? What do you do in life? How do you, just spend your days? And then he says that he's a peace builder, that he's working for peace, that he even studied for that. And it was funny for me because I have never heard about it. Because when you say the peace building, you only think about white helmet, and the international military sources that they come and they do some kind of peace work and they force people to reconcile and things like that. So out of this conversation, I can say that we end up talking for 2 years, deep discussing about the war, about our experience, about our desire to revenge, and also about what's needed for society, how we can stop this, how we can change that. So it was quite deep and long discussion, and we become also very good friends in the meantime. We come to the point that we have to do something about the peace. I also realized that the revenge is not the solution. I always say that to destroy a building, to destroy whatever, you don't need to be smart. To kill somebody, you don't need to be smart, you don't need to be brave. You just have to have opportunity to pull a trigger or press a button and destroy everything or kill somebody. And it doesn't take so much efforts. But to overcome hatred, to overcome desire, to revenge, to reconcile or to rebuild something, it really takes time, money, energy, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of passion and patience to rebuild, destroy trust. So the trust in Bosnia was completely destroyed. It was destroyed to the ground that you cannot even imagine. So instead of destroying it and making it even worse, we decided to try to rebuild the trust, to do as much as we can, and to try to find the best way to just bring people together, to be able to sit and talk. And people often ask me, what was the turning point when you decided to do peace work, when you just, make this cross from somebody who wants to do revenge to somebody who wants to reconcile and work on peace. I cannot say this particular event happened to me and then I changed. I can just say that at some point I felt like there is no burning on my shoulders and I could breathe easily. Because when you hate somebody, when you cannot stand somebody, it's you who suffer. So those I can hate Vahidin, he go to sleep, he doesn't care, he has fun, he sings, he enjoys the food, whatever. He doesn't care. But it's me who suffers, who can't sleep, who can't breathe, who constantly think of it. And I realized that the hatred is really destroying me and my family and my friends and everybody around me. But the peace and the moment when I realized that I have to reconcile with what happened, but also reconcile with people who are ready to reconcile and to create peace, it's the moment when I felt free, when I don't have to worry anymore. And I started to sleep in a better way. So we started to do our peace work with small steps. Vahidin will, and I will talk more about it. But it was kind of the new war, the revelation and release that I don't have to hate. I don't have to, constantly think about it. And we really want to do something to change. And if I always say, if it was possible for me to cross this border from hate to become a peace builder, then it was possible for everybody. And then we just decide to offer this experience to everybody else. And if we were able to do it, everybody else can. So maybe, Wahidin, you can say also what was already done from international and local organization when it comes to the peace in Bosnia after the war.
Yeah, before we share with you about our work on reconciliation and peace building work, I just want to kind of explain a little bit the post-war and post-genocide attempts for reconciliation process. Just after the war, after the Dayton Peace Accord, if I remember correctly, 97, 98, there was an attempt to establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Bosnia, which would serve a reconciliation process. And this was, I remember vividly, it was giving us citizens of Bosnia like big hope that we can enter the process and we can really kind of clarify what happened to all of us, but also we were hoping that that would serve justice, especially for those who suffered the most. Unfortunately, there was no political will, and also unfortunately, international community didn't pressure, I would say, our local institutions to accept this plan, and there were many attempts for the government to start doing something about reconciliation process, but there was never real political will for anything concrete to be done. And the reconciliation process for all these years were left to the civil sector, and there are many great NGOs nationally, but also regionally, internationally, who were contributing to the reconciliation process. There were many great initiatives, but what we, after 23 years, what we realized in our work is no matter how much we as a civil organization try to work on this process, unless there is institutional support and then there is no state who is willing to really take on the process, our attempts then just are limited to, I would say, individual change or change for the individual people, but there is no some massive change in the system. And maybe I can share that we had a few projects or a few initiatives such as RECOM and Pro Future, and also in our organization we've designed and implemented many projects that were dealing with reconciliation, and all of the projects that we designed were actually based on the feedback that we were getting from the people in our communities, asking them, what do you need in order to reconcile? And then we use that as a really guidance to how to create all the programs that we have. Lately, after the war in Ukraine and all the other global madness that it's happening, we are still trying to figure out like what is happening on the global scale and how do we continue with our work. And it's so scary because we have, at the moment, I would say, political situation is worse now than what it was back in 98 or 2000. And the hate speech, the fascism that we can hear in the media by our politicians is just so scary, and we're trying to see how we continue to work in this kind of environment.
Okay, thank you, Vahidin. And right now, we will share a bit about our activities, about our programs. And Vahidin said one very interesting and for us very important thing. And this is that peace building should not be led and done by the NGO, by the civil sector. Unfortunately, it is like that in our country. So this should be the state project. This should be the state program. Maybe the problem was that after war in Bosnia, after every war, like after the World War I, World War II, you had winners and you had losers. And then the winners, be the one who would celebrate the victory, and the losers would have to, to accept their loss and to say that they were the bad guys. So in World War II, we had the bad guys, and those were the Nazis and Germans in the first place, and it was easy to talk and to deal with the history, with narratives and everything, because we defeated Nazism and fascism in World War II, for example. In our war in Bosnia, unfortunately, we don't have winners. We have 3 sides, 4 sides, I don't know how many sides, that after the war stayed supported by the Dayton Peace Agreement, and our state become divided, and we have 3 main narratives that they are running right now in Bosnia. And I believe that you probably know and that you are studying, that you are pretty well informed about it. But I think it's important to mention, just to understand how hard it is in this kind of society to talk about the peace. So unfortunately, our government just decided not to go there and not to do anything about it. So we realized that we have to do this and that we will do anything that's needed for that. So in the beginning, we were trying to figure out what would be the best, what to do. And in the beginning, Vahidin had a lot of theories. We were studying the books and theory about the peace building. And I have to say that most of them didn't work, unfortunately. So what was working from the theory was that we listened to the local community. What do they need in order to reconcile it, to bring peace among the people? So out of these talks and our first activities, our first peace activities were just our actions, local action, local initiatives in our region, in our village, in our local neighborhood, local school. And then we realized that it has to be bigger, it has to include and involve more people. And also we needed a legal frame in order to do peace building, because we had situations that me and Vahidin would go and introduce who we are and what we want to do, and people say, but you cannot just like that enter the institution or the school like that. So we realized that we need a legal frame, which was for us to establish an NGO. So in 2004, we established an NGO called Center for Peace Building, of course, and then we started to implement and to organize our peace events, such as Peace Camp. Peace Camp is mainly designed for the youth, for the young people from all around the Bosnia. So we would bring them, especially in the beginning, in some nice hotels outside of the city, and just bring them together, create a safe space for them to be whoever they are. And then we would talk about identity, about the prejudice, about the common history that we deeply disagree. And we would just, for us, this was transformational project and program for people just to understand why the peace building is important, what they can do as individuals in the local communities, as teachers, as social workers, as doormen, as professors, teachers, politicians. So this we have started even before officially establishing an NGO, and we are still doing this program for the young people. And then we also realized, since our country, I believe you know about this, is divided in Republic of Srpska and Federation, young people normally they don't travel, they don't go to Republic of Srpska from Federation. From Federation, normally they don't go to Republic of Srpska. So we started with the program called the Peace Caravan. So mainly and most of the time after the peace camp, we would sit in the bus and then we would travel throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina, meet local peace builders, meet local peace initiatives, NGOs, that they would talk about the peace, and also to show the people that we live in the same country, that it's beautiful enough, and to give them experience of belonging together and common history that we have, and it's not always connected with the war experience. Also, we realized that people don't understand what is the term the peace building. The same I didn't know when Vahidin introduced the peace building term to me. So we established around International Peace Day in September, which is 21st of September. We started to do Peace Week, and ever since 17 years ago, we started with International Peace. I mean, it was the Peace Week in the beginning, mainly to raise awareness about the peace building terms and activities and what does it mean for the local community that we are living in, but also it grew through the time to International Peace Week. Right now, when we have a Peace Week, last week, Peace Week, we had people from more than 20 different countries from all around the world who are participating. We bring professors, students, teachers, researchers, important people who do the peace building work in all around the world, and then we just introduce this knowledge and experience to the local community, but also international. Another thing that we also had in our organization, because in Bosnia the common thing would be singing. Everybody likes to sing, to dance, and things like that. We established international interreligious choir. The religion is also a big part of our country. We believe that, and according to the people and research that has been done, more than 90% of people consider themselves as religious. So we would organize peace events in a way that, for example, when we have a Christmas, we would organize Christmas concert, we would organize Eid concerts. I was living in Prijedor, which is Republic of Srpska, and I can say for the Eid, you don't have the Eid concert. For the Christmas you have, it's a day off, it's a celebration. For Eid, it's nothing. When you come to Sanski Most, which is only 20 kilometers far away, for Eid you have a big concerts, and for Christmas you don't really have concerts. You have celebrations, kind of, but it's not public event. So with this choir, we wanted to introduce and to bring these celebrations in the public space. So we started to organize Christmas concerts, Ramadan concerts, Eid concerts, and in these concerts we would invite the whole entire community. And as a result of that, I can say after a couple of years, even in the Republic of Srpska, which is Prijedor and Banja Luka, people started to organize concerts for Eid, for Ramadan, for different occasions. They were kind of encouraged. And this choir grew out of our capabilities to deal with and to navigate, to take care of. So they established a different NGO for itself, and they are still operating and working and also participating in any our event. For example, we will have Peace Week this year, and they will be doing the concerts. So maybe, Vahidin, you can talk about other projects.
Like, it's obvious that we have so much to share, and then we are very limited with minutes. That I want to share a little bit also about the transformation that is happening around our work and in our communities. For example, one of the big changes at the beginning when we started with our work, of course, we were introducing a new concept, a very strange concept of coming together, very soon after the ethnic cleansing that took place here, and of course, a lot of people had issues with that. Like, how do we cooperate if our wounds are not acknowledged, if our suffering is not acknowledged? We need acknowledgement before we can move forward, and we can even start thinking about having dialogue with somebody. And so at the very beginning, we invested so much in building trust between us and the community. And for many years, we were asking local authorities to give us space, to support us with grants. And of course, it was continuously rejection, saying, we don't have means, we don't have space. And then 2 years ago, the mayor of Sanski Most, he offered us a space to establish a daily youth center, because one of the problems in our community is actually the fact that young people are leaving Sanski Most, going for either third countries or bigger cities in Bosnia, and we got even grant from the local municipality. And another one was that after we received 3 international awards, then also the municipality council awarded us with the highest award of Sanski Most, which was so precious for us, because it's not that the 50 years passed, but it was only 15 years that passed. But for us, this was an indicator that the level of trust that we built with the local community was good, and that what we did in that sense was on a good track. We developed and implemented different initiatives. We worked on genocide prevention in primary schools. Then in addition, we worked in in different projects on democracy in schools, of course, also with different national and international partners, because we also learned from the very beginning that for peace building work and reconciliation work, partnerships are the most important, and networking is most important. And at the moment, for example, in 2004 or 2010, even 2015, we could only dream about um, making some changes on institutional level, for example. But at the moment, I can say that we are very happy that we established very good relationship with our Ministry of Education in our canton, and also with the University of Bihać. And at the moment, we are helping creating a syllabus and curriculum for the courses that will be taught to future teachers. Until now, we would go to schools and work with teachers, training them in different topics. And finally, now we can even offer peace education during their regular schools, which I think it's really a huge success. Another thing maybe that I can point out when it comes to really supporting the survivors and supporting the process of reconciliation is that with several UN agencies, and also with the local religious communities and religious leaders, we developed a few projects that were talking about fighting the stigmatization of the survivors of sexual violence during the war. And I'm sure you know we had more than 30,000 women and men who survived sexual violence during the war. And we even we used arts. We prepared a theater play and then presented it in different communities in throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then after that, there were many NGOs who participated and many NGOs who did this campaign, 16 days of activism for several days. It was focused especially on the survivors of sexual violence during the war. And we finally have a law that actually acknowledges the survivors, and survivors even get some kind of retribution without going into different processes in courts, but really the system understood how we should take care of people who went through such horrific experiences without re-traumatizing them. So maybe for the end, I want to say that we from the very beginning wanted to be independent and wanted to be self-sustainable. So we developed a concept of a peace farm here in Sanski Most. And basically, the whole concept is to create a safe space for people of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also globally, who have a need for reconciliation, that they can come and they can work on whatever they need to work. So at the moment, we are building infrastructure. We are still in the process of making, but we've already hosted thousands of people on the farm, and we had programs where we had hundreds of young people coming and learning about themselves, about those who are living next to them, or and not necessarily they had a chance to really meet and talk, and also to talk about and to have dialogue about what happened during the war. We have now the third generation is being born. The second generation we are working with. And what was also surprising for us, we thought the second generation would spared from these traumatic consequences, but unfortunately, what we are witnessing, there is a lot of consequences for what happened to generation before, and we are now aware more than ever that actually there is a huge work ahead of us when it comes also to transgenerational trauma healing. So,
I would just love to add, so you heard about our experience, and trust me, in our last 20 plus years that we exist and that we do peace work, we have been doing a lot, and we sometimes actually very often feel like it's not enough, we have to do more, and is it worth, and do we have to do this? When we decided to have a legal frame to establish an NGO, I was dreaming that the main work will be we come, we bring people, and then we just talk about the peace, we organize workshops, we do this, we do that. The reality is something different. We have to write project proposal, we have to apply, we have to get grants, and then we have to implement a right report. And this is tiring, this is hard, and sometimes you say, is it worth it? It should be different, it should be this. Unfortunately or fortunately, this is the reality, this is the life. And is it worth it? It is worth it. And this is something that we have to do. When we have one young people who change their opinion and from fascist transfer to the peace builder, it's worth it. It's important to do this kind of work and to, just go through it and do your part, do your best that you can to make this world or this place better place. So this is from us for now. If you have any questions, feel free. No taboos, no hard questions, no anything. Just go straight, whatever you want to ask.
Thank you so much, both of you, for such a enriching and insightful presentation. I know that there are people in our audience who have quite a few questions for you guys. So if you do have a question and would like to submit it, please use the Q&A feature, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can in the time that we have left. But so one of the questions that I'm really interested in that you touched on was, and I'm really glad that you did touch on it, is, what does this kind of reconciliation work actually look like on the ground today? And your emphasis on speaking with local communities in your local community to ask what they would need in order to even start this work, I thought was so insightful. And I was wondering if you'd be able to, if you're comfortable, expand on that, as to like, what were some of the things that they needed in order to start having these conversations?
Mm-hmm. So, for example, we can give you an example where we were invited by two concentration camp survivors associations who were based in the same community, but they were divided by ethnic lines. And they invited us to come and help them so they could apply for projects together and they could help the members of their associations. And when we got there, we asked them, so how long do you know each other? They said, well, some of them, they met even in the camps, but they've known each other for many years. And we said, okay, so what do you really need in order to cooperate together? And they said, we would like to trust more. And we said, so did you tell each other your stories? And they were shocked. They were like, no, we never shared our stories with each other. We were like, why not? They said, well, we didn't want to offend anyone. So it's also a cultural thing, but there is also, part of it that it's not easy to share your story and you are afraid that people might think that you are lying. Will they believe you? Will they acknowledge that this really happened to you? So we told them, if you want, we can then facilitate. We can sit all together and each of you can share your stories. We can tell you our stories so that we can see, where we go from there. And most of the time, this is one example. After they share stories, of course, the relationships were much more relaxed. Some level of trust was built, and they continue to work together. And most of the time, like when we had Coffee for Peace, for example, and we asked people, this was back in 2004, we said, what do you need? So they needed acknowledgement. And then we said, okay, but you can't get acknowledgement unless you meet person from the other side. And they said, well, you should work more with young people, not with us. For us, we lost all our chances. And I'm like, no, you survived this, you witnessed this, and you know the truth. So you should be the one who will be sharing that truth with younger generation. And but we know from the experience, no matter how a person angry was or mad was, all it took was really one coffee, and to have people sit together, to look at each other's eyes, to see the human being in the other person, and to see that your story, when you share your story is heard and nobody is questioning it. And after that, we just had today, there was young boy, he is now 35. He was a young boy when he came, and he just came to visit us. He moved to Germany 10 years ago, and we kind of lost contact. I mean, we were on Facebook friends, so he was able to see what was happening. And he came today to tell us actually how much he appreciated the opportunity to come and meet somebody from the other side. And he met a young boy at that time from the neighboring community. And he said we became best friends, and we're still very close friends, and we are in touch. I couldn't even remember, all the names and last names. But so for us, it was important to bring them together, start their own process. And then after 1 week, we never had really funds to kind of follow them for, I don't know, 3-4 years. Imagine if we did, what kind of miracles would happen. So this is mainly that they needed just contact and the space, safe space where they could share with each other, their stories, their lives, and the bonds that were created are lasting, for forever.
Yeah. So our next question is about capturing experiences of survivors. So one of our attendees asked, has your organization tried to capture or archive the memories of or experiences of survivors?
Yes, that was not also a very popular topic, for the donors, and for many from the beginning, because we were aware that witnesses are dying, and we wanted to preserve as much as possible. And we finally, only in 2016, we were able to get a grant from the German government, actually, to record testimonials and also to write stories. So we got about 700 stories in that project, and the project also was very specific, because we would then take the stories from one community, and we brought it to the other community, so they were able to listen to stories of their enemies on in an audio, and then we had dialogues about this. And it was super scary, because it was all about they came and they killed my family, or they raped me, and we were concerned, for a reason, how people would listen, how people would react. And then they, after several sessions like that, we had people who said, why don't you bring a group of people who share their stories, because we were bringing their stories to another group from Prijedor who also shared their stories. They said, we share same stories, so why don't we come together, and then we can really tell each other how we feel about what happened, and how we would love to see our future, and also if to see whether there are possibilities for us to work on that future. So unfortunately, I have to say this, that many people died without leaving their stories recorded. But there were many initiatives also throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina, where people were recorded either with audio or video, or just written stories, but not as much as we would love to see. And yeah, our hope is that once we have the Peace Farm, uh, once we have the seminar house built, that we have one section of it where we will have a corner for people to come, sit, and listen to this story, for future researchers, but also for people who want to understand better what happened here. And I'm not sure when we will be able to do this, but this is our idea for the future.
It's amazing. And I think we have time for one more quick question. We have a question from Ali, who is a Keene State College alum. And her question, well, she has a question, but also a message to both of you. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for doing this. It's great to see you. What do you think is the greatest challenge with those future generations that you mentioned that you might see, negative impacts from?
I want to say hi, Ali, and it's time for you to come back just to see how much Sanski Most has changed and how much we've done in Zim. I think it's really time for you to come. And for the question, we have the political climate, the media, educational system, especially in Republika Srpska, where NGOs cannot enter the school system at all. It's just, and then plus, this transgenerational trauma, the stories they can hear now also on social media. When I say stories, I don't mean the stories from people's heart, the stories about nationalism and fascism, and we are very scared what will come out with especially the third generation. And that's why we cannot, even if we would want to give up and go and do some other work that it's so less stressful, we feel like no, we have to stay, because and we also have to make more voices so that this new generation of our future leaders, they can really understand what happened and why it should not happen ever again.
Yeah, I just want to add that we also feel scared sometimes, what's going to be and how it's going to look like for the future generation, because the political leaders and those who are in power that we are witnessing and seeing today, they are not heading in the direction of reconciliation on the trust build. And the entire school system is created in a way to educate the fascists about what's happened, about each other. But my real hope are people like you, Ali, or like everybody else who are, I don't know really how this happened, but they go out of this shell that it's really hard and strong and try to keep us in this, separate in our boxes of fascism and nationalism. And they really want to study about the peace. They really want to see what is the best future for them, not to follow the mainstream politicians, not to follow mainstream fascists and Nazis in our society. So we always say, our older generation, we say that we don't believe in the younger people. We don't believe that they can do and change anything. But seeing young people studying in peace, participating in peace activities, being interested in this, it really gives a hope that every generation struggles with different stuff. We struggle with our common history, that it's not so bright and nice, but there always, and there will always be people who would be doing the right things in the right time. So we just have to give them support.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's all the time we have today, but thank you both so much for joining us today for this very important discussion. And we hope to see you soon again as for a presentation with the Cohen Institute.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for invitation and opportunity.
And thank you to our audience members for your amazing engagement today. Those of you who are located in Keene, you may wish to join us this afternoon for our final Bosnian coffee hour, which will be held at the Cohen Institute at 4 p.m. and is open to all. We also would love to invite you to attend the final event in the Cohen Institute series on Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the final event in our year-long series on gender and genocide, the Genocide Awareness Lecture. On April 8th, Professor Patricia Visor-Sellers will deliver a talk entitled Srebrenica, Genocide Gendered. As an international criminal lawyer, she will discuss how this genocide has persecuted, remembered, and understood, how this genocide was persecuted, is remembered, and understood through the lens of gender. Details and registration information can be found on the Cohen Institute's website, and we encourage you to sign up to receive our monthly newsletter to learn more about events and programs. In the meantime, we wish everyone well, and we hope that you guys have a great rest of your week and a lovely weekend. Thank you so much.